Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be reacting to
the European transit system that doesn't feel European.
What is that
mean? Okay, so my initial thought process reading this feels like more like, American, to a point where it's not exactly convenient to use or something like that. I would think. How did you?
Or what? I thought, okay, the European system is not what it was once known as European, as being very good, very efficient.
So what?
Similar to what you said, but I left US out of it.
Oh, okay.
No one caught strays.
Country on RM transit. When you think of Greece, you might think of historic sites and beautiful islands, but for me, I usually think of it for the very interesting Athens transit system, as well as the Thessaloniki Metro. Is that still happening? Now, since there seems to be some confusion, I visited a solid supermajority of the systems I talk about on the channel. And when I visited Athens, I was really impressed with how comprehensive the rail transit system is, and a lot of the interesting features that it has. In some ways, it doesn't even feel like you're in Europe. So let's get to the rails of Athens to look at this very interesting transit system and where it's headed next.
Oh.
So maybe it's like not a bad thing, just interesting. I guess it's just different from Europe.
This is RM transit.
Greece not part of Europe?
Greece is part of Europe.
So why does it sound like it's like an outsider?
I don't know. A channel about cities and their public transit from Austin to Athens. Like many cities around the world, not just in North America, Athens ripped of its historic tram system. But like so many cities across Europe, Athens has rebuilt itself a really nice, beautiful, modern tram system, in fact for the Olympics in 2004. And it's actually quite an extensive system, running 32 kilometers with nearly 60 different stops. Like most modern tram systems, the tram...
You're like still in the city?
No, tram is, you see, it's like a train with a...
On a cable?
On a cable,
oh.
In Athens run on standard gauge track and are powered by 750 volt DC overhead lines. The system consists of two different routes. T7, which is a route along the coastline running to the port area of Piraeus, where there's a one-way loop, as well as some mini beaches along what is one of the most beautiful and scenic tram lines in the world. There's also the T6 route, which runs from central Athens near the Acropolis all the way down to the coast to meet with T7.
If you're curious like I was why the trams are numbered T6 and T7, it's most likely because the numbers 1 to 5 were used in an earlier iteration of the tram network, with T1 and T2 representing truncated services. However, 6 and 7 also benefit from allowing a unified numbering scheme with the Metro.
The network is really attractive, and there's quite a few interesting spots on T6 in particular where the line splits in two to weave through tight alleyways in historic areas of the city. There's also a ton of green tracks throughout, something which is still vanishingly uncommon in North America. Well, the tram system only originally had kind of meh tram units.
That's kind of convenient because to me, usually when you take like a train, you're not able to take it like within like close to a street like this. It's usually far out from the city, so you have to take like a public transportation to get to the train.
Yeah, well, this is not like like in between cities. This is like within the city. Yeah, you cannot take this tram from Athens to Thessaloniki.
Although Breda, it's newer trams.
It's just like a bus, just a different form,
It reminds me of what we have similarly, like the Metro Mover, but it's only in downtown. And it goes in circles.
It would be somewhat similar to this, yeah. This is like more, in the city. That is kind of like above the city, but similar kind of idea.
Alstom, Citadis units look and feel modern. Seems like it's still one of the few rolling stock products which Alstom does consistently knock out of the park.
Running deep underneath the trams is the Athens Metro network, which is run by the same operator and moves well in excess of 1.5 million people a day, which is really respectable for a network with just 66 stations over roughly 92 kilometers of track on Athens' 3 different lines. It should, however, be noted that because several of Athens' interchange stations are really separate facilities, that the actual station count is arguably higher. I'll let you hash that one out in the comments, though.
The Athens Metro is interesting from the first time you look at its map, with a giant triangle transfer in the middle, and all 3 lines starting near the coast and ending up further inland. Despite only having 3 lines, the Metro effectively has 5 different interchanges, since lines 2 and 3 both connect to line 1 twice. And all of the lines actually connect to the tram system, which means there's a ton of intermodal
so you can cross over.
Line 1 was the first line in the Athens Metro, and it's one of the world's great metro lines, as so many Line 1s seem to be, from Paris to Seoul. Line 1 is actually formed of the remnants of a surface railway with a short underground central section, meaning that most of the tracks actually don't run underfoot, though they do run through some rather historic and attractive old stations. Some even claim that Athens Line 1 is the oldest metro line in continental Europe, which kind of depends on how you define a metro line, Is it a metro line if it gets upgraded into a metro line, like Athens line?
You know, oldest. Greek is old. It's possible.
One, or is it a metro line if it was designed as a metro line like Budapest M1? It's really up to you to decide. Adding to the intrigue of this sometimes above, sometimes below ground transit corridor are a number of stations with Spanish solution boarding, where platforms are on not just one, but both sides of the trains. I also really love the Southern Railway South Terminus in Parades, which is also home to a workshop and reminds me a lot of Hammersmith on these subsurface lines in London.
That being said, the line, given its age and infrastructure, is rough around the edges, especially compared to the newer lines.
Now, despite Line 1 being built over 150 years ago and being electrified over 100 years ago, all of Athens' subsequent metro lines have adopted these same technical standards, with 750-volt DC third rail, relatively wide 2.8-meter carriages, and 6-car trains that are over 100 meters long.
I wonder how the other one gets so much graffiti on top of it, and the others, they're like, brand new.
Because it's old, that's why it has graffiti.
Like
it's been around. You know.
Wow.
Lines 2 and 3 are in many ways much less charming. They're both modern metro lines that opened in the 2000s and are entirely underground. Although, interestingly, with many curved platforms, something which actually isn't so common on modern metro systems. In many ways, from the station designs to
So
the
its
Hyundai
intent was when there was what was it? Olympics Games?
In rolling stock, these lines remind me a lot of systems in Asia, as well as, of course, Vancouver's Canada Line, which notably has the same seats.
Athens also has platform edge lights, which blink when a train is approaching, just like in...
Okay, so I guess what the title meant, that doesn't feel European. He's really going like into the details. Like we're talking about the lights.
So does this not classify European
I guess maybe there is like, you know, like a certain...
standard?
Not standard, but certain...
I would think it would go faster. It looked a little slow. Because how I know like public transit, I know from like the TGV, that one goes fast.
What is
the
TGV?
Train Grand Vitesse is the French train. It goes really, really fast.
Oh, well, that's like, you know, high speed rail. Like, this is not high speed, this is regular.
And the one that UK that goes underwater, that one is fast. This one, it looks like, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know if I would think of, but I think of transit in Europe, I think of this. Because this looks similar to ours in Miami. Like, they move like slow.
Yeah, it moves like that, but... No, I think maybe it's just like he's talking more so about the design details. Maybe like Europe has a certain design details, and this is that, and you know it's different. Like Athens system is different from the European one. That's what, because like he's really going into like the specifics.
Washington D.C. and
but to me it looks nice.
The Athens Metro is also growing, and a new line, Line 4, is already under construction. This line will actually be yet another with automated Alstom Metropolis trains alongside Paris, Sydney, Sao Paulo, and Santiago, and it'll initially form a U through central areas connecting lines 2 and 3. The eventual goal for Line 4, though, is for it to become more of a crosstown line, connecting to various destinations around Athens Hills and also making many more connections to other transit lines in the region.
Having more metro coverage is a good thing, because Athens' density is very uniform. Without much spiky high-rise development around stations, it's more Paris than Vancouver.
The Metro Master Plan also calls for much more, with an extension of Line 1 to the north, as well as a new branch, an extension to Line 2 on both ends, including
I wish we could zoom out, because it looks like it's only covering only a specific radius.
I think, it's covering the city.
Yeah.
That's the city, probably.
7 along the coast, as well as a branch for Line 4 that would parallel Line 2. There's a lot of rapid transit planned. Finally, there's Athens Suburban train system, which is actually run by Trenitalia and is quite underrated, if also a little underdeveloped.
Oh.
The Suburban train system currently forms the giant
really
plus symbol through Athens, with an east-west line on the north side of the city and a north-south line running through west-central Athens.
So you could really get around without, how I think if it's a really good transit system, is that you could be able to get around the city without having to do, a bus, to rent a vehicle.
What do you mean a bus? A bus is?
No, this kind of train.
Well, sometimes you have to hop from the train to a bus. Not the trains, they don't go sometimes you have to mix and match basically. It not always is gonna be like a train that's gonna take you there, because they have they made the paths that they go, and that's because it's not like the same with the buses have bus line.
Yeah.
The route they go all the time. So same with these, they go certain lines.
Same in other parts of Europe. You have to connect with maybe a bus to get
Yes.
to the train.
Now I would say UK for my
and
experience.
they coordinate well.
What do you mean coordinate?
Is it outrageous if you're trying to do the distance to go to the other side of the town and you need to take a train, a bus, and then another train? that bus.
There wouldn't be a train, a bus, and another train. It would just probably be one and the other. It wouldn't be one, the other,
I'm
and
just curious the wait time. If the wait time is that outrageous.
Well,
So if it's like
I can only speak for like UK, but UK the metros go like every 3-4 minutes.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not. Yeah, but and in the UK, I would say the underground is really developed. I think you probably will be able to access most of the town with the underground. I think the only place I had to take a bus with the metro was to go to Greenwich. You know, the clock. That's, I think we had to take a underground to a station and then take a little bus because it's kind of like outside of the town a little bit. Aside from that, underground is very well done.
Because what makes this interesting is that how they fund money for these projects. Because here, for example, in Miami, it's public funds and also private investor who gets the contract wants to build the actual railroads or whatever the service is. And so if I'm investing as part of the public to this, it has to be efficient in a way that is practical and reliable, and I don't have to use other means of transportation to use this service.
Well, I think what metro offers instead of a bus is the speed. It doesn't have to stop, so you get to the place faster. It's not necessarily like what bus offers over metro is the accessibility, because a bus uses roads, can kind of go everywhere, like almost, you know, except for like the valleys or now any major street the bus can go on. With metro you can't do that, but you do have the speed aspect of it, so kind of like pick which one you care more about.
Where it connects with Line 2 and all the way south to Piraeus, where it actually has a terminus that's just a block over from Line 1, a connection to Line 3 as well, and of course to the trams. Beyond just serving suburban trips, the network also handled longer regional journeys and electrified intercity service to Thessaloniki. While the suburban rail system doesn't have the best infrastructure or service, core parts of it are included in the same standard ticket as with the metro and trams, something which much larger cities like Toronto still haven't managed to figure out. There is no way to sugarcoat it. The network needs a lot of work, from more tracks to more grade separation. There are a ton of grade crossings in central parts of Athens. But when you actually look into it, there's a lot of work going into improve every part of the network. And you can see a lot of it if you just go and look at images online, including new and upgraded stations, rebuilt and expanded rail corridors, and far more. Already on the network today, most of the trains are really nice Siemens Desiro EMUs, and apparently demand is high enough, despite the rather low service levels, that there are already plans to introduce higher capacity trains.
If in Europe they face the same issues when someone is stuck on the track and it delays the whole train.
Possibly, but I don't know. Maybe, I would think so.
With the future, including bi-level EMUs, which are just lovely. One really interesting element of the system is the line to the airport, which is quite useful in and of itself, if a little infrequent. But it actually also allows Metro Line 3 with its completely different high-floor metro trains to serve the eastern suburbs and the airport directly. This actually takes its route to nearly 50 kilometers long. To do this, Line 3 trains pop out of the metro tunnels onto the suburban rail corridor, put up pantographs to set the overhead power on the line, and serve different platforms at the stations that are built at the appropriate platform height for the metro trains. There are separate ones for the suburban trains. This is pretty similar to how the Rotterdam Metro and Randstad Rail interact in parts of the
best one was the one that had like it was like a full service train where they had a little restaurant there.
Oh,
that
in
was
Finland?
so cool.
Yeah.
Well, this is a pretty unique way of connecting rail to the airport and having multiple different rail lines actually directly serve it. And so while there is an extra fare, I'll always remember Athens for its relatively interesting air rail link.
Though it should be mentioned that the frequency of airport services isn't all that great.
All in all, Athens actually has a rather underrated public transit system. From trams to metro and suburban rail, as well as trolley buses, ferries, and the fairly well-known peninsula, Athens also has basically every mode of transit. And the actual service offered is solid, with good frequencies and smart integrated ticketing. But perhaps what's most impressive is how new most of the system is. From the creation of 2 out of 3 metro lines to the entire tram system.
Maybe why it feels different in Europe, because it's new? Because Europe is kind of old.
Oh, yes.
So maybe that's why, because I'm gonna be honest, if you watch the whole video, I didn't really get exactly the point that he was trying to make.
It doesn't feel European?
Yeah, I
think maybe more craftsmanship. Like, I think of, like, the train system, I think, like Harry Potter, like how detailed and nice the place. But this looks nice, very modern, though.
Yeah, maybe the modernity of it all is kind of why it doesn't feel European.
Because the graffiti even remind me of New York, the train.
It's all in Europe, too. It's all over Europe, graffiti.
Electrification and expansion of the suburban rail, a lot has happened in just the last 2 decades, and I think the future is even brighter. The system is also very well connected, with all major modes connecting to all of the others, and the tightly interlinked metro, tram, and suburban train system. Getting on the metro in Athens is a really great experience, and another example, alongside cities like Warsaw and Helsinki, that there are so many cities
But
we
not
look
too
to
busy.
learn about how to build better public
Yes.
transit and rail systems. While Paris and Tokyo are great, they aren't the only cities to learn from. Thanks for watching.
Wow, so the guy really loves trains.
Yeah.
Like he built a whole channel talking about
That's
what I assume is his
interesting.
train system. Wow.
Maybe he works for like a train
Maybe,
company.
wow, his
Because I feel like this may be a promotion to use the services. You know?
No, I don't think he's Greek. I think he's American or
Oh.
Canadian. I think I heard a little Canadian but
Guys, of course, let us know your thoughts. If you like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord. And as always, share as much kindness as possible.